Pitter patter. Do it. Do it.
Right?
Oh, I see the voice. Like it. I like it.
Which YouTube or on Rumble? I haven't touched the my camera in this layout. So I moved everything. So it's all cockeyed.
Oh yeah. I like it though. I like the reposition. I liked it before too, but it's a nice angle change up.
Yeah, I think it's good too. It's something. It is something. Oh, right. Gonna do a sound.
Let's see. What
Oh,
shall I
man.
say? How about? We'll go with the old standby. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Pedophile picked a peck of pickled
Picked a
peppers?
peck of
What?
pickled peppers. Did you ever see that show,
Pedophile
The
picked a peck of
Boondocks?
pickled
Picked a peck
peppers?
of
What?
pickled peppers. Did
Come again?
you ever see the show, The Boondocks? It was
The
like that. It was that cartoon
cartoon?
show. Everyone's black. Did you ever see the show, The Boondocks? It was
The
like that. It was that cartoon
cartoon?
show. Everyone's black. Did you ever see the show, The Boondocks? It was
The
like that. It was that cartoon show.
cartoon?
Hello. Everyone's black. Did you ever see?
I don't believe it. It was on like Adult Swim, right?
Yeah, something like that. We had our token black guy in my platoon in Afghanistan, and he loved that show. So he would show us like random clips from it.
Yeah.
And there was one funny episode. I don't know if they're constantly in the show or not, but like Snoop Dogg was one of the characters in the show, and I guess the show had something to do with the like local gang or whatever, like being on his lawn, and so he's like the typical old man, like stay off my lawn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the episode, he's like, you're still gonna fix my lawn, boys. And they're like, you can eat a bag of dicks, old man. And then Snoop Dogg's character's like, yeah, eat a bag of baby dicks.
What the fuck?
Dude, it was so random.
Holy hell. Well, did he hang out with Diddy?
Oh, that's a good point.
Hmm.
Oh boy.
All right. Just need to grab ice cube and then we'll start.
All right.
All right. Don't wear the sweatshirt. I like my sweatshirts loose.
Are you getting a little nippy?
Oh, the basement's tough to keep warm. Cold season. Got a little heater, but if I can be comfortable in a sweatshirt, then I don't have to use as much electricity.
Yeah. I feel you. Can't wait till this build is done, dude. Hopefully they'll be done like in like a week and a half at most.
Right? How's it coming?
It's freaking coming, dude. I'll tell you what. I got some things to say to the builder when he's done. First and foremost, I don't know how they do things in Canada, but here in America, we work.
From Canada?
Yeah, the guy's Canadian. He's a nice guy, but dude, like they show up, they work like 4 hours and they leave. It's like, dude, if you just put in 8 hour days, 5 days a week, you guys would have been done like 3, 4 weeks ago.
Why do they do that?
I don't know, dude. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm gonna be flat out with him when we're done.
What are they
I
like
gave him
juggling jobs?
I gave him a no later than date. I was like, if you're not done by the 27th, we're gonna have to talk about compensation back my way. So I was like, dude, this ain't. We're paying him effectively $670 a day to do this job. It's like, okay, so you have your marching orders. You're supposed to be done by X date so that we have time that I can go in and I can put up all the shelves and all the different stuff in my wife's in the salon.
Yeah.
So that she can open on the day that she's supposed to,
Right.
you know, the first day that she's not at the old salon.
Right.
And so I flat out told him, like, you have until this date, and if he goes beyond that date, then I'm gonna sit there and be like, okay, well, we obviously passed a reasonable timeline because you probably worked about 20 to 25 hours a week here at our house. Had you worked 40 hours a week like a normal person, you would have been done weeks ago. So,
Right.
like, and even if you know, like, that's the thing too. Like, I'm not a construction guy. I did roofing for a summer. I know a little bit about the construction field, stuff like that, but it's like, dude, get your crap delivered. Like, you show up here, you do the siding. It takes you a day and a half to do siding because you only worked 5 hours the first day and 3 hours the next day. If you would have worked 8 hours, you would have got the siding done in one day. It's like, I don't know a whole lot about a lot, but like, you show up and you do one thing and then you don't have the supplies to move on to the next task, so you leave. Like, why don't you just get that crap delivered to the job site? Or here's the thing: instead of showing up at 8 a.m., show up at 9, but go get the crap you need to do the next part of the job,
Yeah.
and then show up.
Yeah.
It's like they show up and they're like, "Oh, all right, we're doing the insulation today." They do the insulation and then they leave. And it's like, yeah, but if you had the drywall, you could start drywalling. It's like, why do you just like do one task and then leave?
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm flat out. I'm gonna be like, if he goes 2 days over, I'm gonna be like, okay, well that's $1,340 that we shouldn't have to pay you because we were paying you $667 a day, and you went 2 days over.
Yeah.
So I want to keep $1,200.
Right. People these days, you know,
Yep,
part timers.
dude, $1,200. That's 1/7, or one six and three quarters payment for that new truck.
I know, right?
I'll give me my $1,200, bro.
He's already saving up. He's ready
Yeah,
to go.
bro. I'm like, I want that. I showed that to my wife today, the video that you shared with us last night, and I was like, I'm just letting you know right now, you have no say in this. I will be buying one of these. And then I showed her the clip, and she was like, if that truck comes out and it's actually $8,000, she's like, I'll be mad at you if you don't buy one.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was like, deal. Yeah, I did. I was like, I will be buying one of these, whether you want me to or not. I'm just letting you know right now.
Start calling Freightliner dealers now.
Right?
I bet you they're not going to be able to keep. I don't know if they're going to be able to produce them fast enough.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to keep my eyes on it. Like, I didn't, I haven't checked their website or anything like that, and I didn't watch the whole video. I only watched about half of it. Did they ever mention when that's expected to drop?
No, I haven't seen. I don't remember.
My guess is probably not till next year when the new models come out. Whatever,
Probably.
whenever that is. That's usually like the end of like quarter two, right? Like from a business standpoint, like October is the start of a fiscal year usually for government and business. It's like quarter two would be like the end of quarter two would be like around like April, March, April.
All I know is they release whatever year truck it is the year before.
Right, right. I think it's usually like spring, beginning of summer, something like that, that all the new models drop.
All right. Shall we?
Let's do it.
Should have shaved.
Should have shaved.
Yeah, I should have trimmed up.
Yay.
Good. All right. Kamala Harris is in. It's the final stretch of the election, folks. Like, what are we down to? What? 3.5 weeks? 3 weeks? Like that? It's like 20-something days. Yeah. Like 20 days to the election or whatever. Kamala Harris campaign is scrambling right now. The first half of the campaign, it was avoid media spots, avoid interviews at all costs. The few interviews she finally did ended up being fully pre-planned and edited and softball interviews. And they tried to ride the honeymoon phase of the debate and of the candidacy announcement. And that has soured with the voters. For a little while there, they were neck and neck. It took all that power to keep them neck and neck with Trump. They took the lead for a short bit after the debate. And then slowly, it just went down and down, down and down as people got to hear her speak more. And I will say, I do think J.D. Vance continuously being masterful at answering questions in front of the media, I think is a good part because he's doing a very good job of highlighting how terrible she is and reminding people how bad that Kamala Harris is. And he does it in a very calm, kind of normal, but smart kind of way. And he doesn't ever react. He doesn't get emotional. He just is very well spoken and smart. And I think that is the perfect choice for Trump to pick because he counteracts Trump. He fills in where Trump lacks. Trump is the pizzazz. He is the showman. And J.D. Vance is just sharp as a tack. He knows everything he's going to talk about. He knows how to frame it concisely and without getting overly emotional. And it works. So now the Kamala Harris campaign strategy has switched. They are backed into a corner. And they're forced to fight their way out. They have no choice but to do all the interviews and media hits right now. Because they're looking at the numbers, and the numbers are atrocious for them. So now she's doing every interview she can. And it's not looking good. I don't know how else to say it. I think if they had a choice, they would not be doing it. They're in full desperation mode, and it's evident. And Trump is out here just doing Trump stuff. He refused to do the 60-minute thing. Now Kamala Harris is trying to say that he's avoiding the interviews. He's avoiding the media. Like, Trump's already done like 4 60 minutes spots. He's already done 2 debates at hostile networks. He's already done interviews with hostile interviewers. He's already done town halls with hostile network hosting them. So I think all of Kamala Harris's words are falling on deaf ears. We'll get into it in detail. We'll talk about it. We'll bring up some clips and stuff in a second. This is Northeast Based Podcast.
Scratching the face of Lady Liberty. Our morals are falling apart. The whole world in disarray. We're too concerned dads have had enough, and we've got things to say. We're Northeast Base. Base.
It is the Northeast Based Podcast, episode 23. I am the host, Ski Sticks, joined by my co-host, Jamokino. Jamok.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, obviously there's a lot going on, but we're definitely going to be focused heavily on the election here that's coming right up, and the disaster, as you said, that the Kamala Harris campaign is. And yeah, Democrats are, at this point, I think they probably, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like they probably want Joe back, but it also, I mean, Joe might be the only candidate that's worse than her at this point.
I think secretly Joe Biden is laughing his way to the beach like every day.
Oh yeah, he's living life. Like, he's definitely like slinging some arrows at the Kamala campaign.
He put on the Trump hat.
Yeah, like, he's totally disillusioned with his party now. Like, he spent the last 4 years doing their bidding, whatever they told him that they wanted, and then they still booted him. So yeah, he holds no love for them anymore. I don't think.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, he's. I mean, not that Trump needed it, because he didn't, right? Like, when we talk about the, I can't think of what it's called. What is that betting site again?
Polymarket.
Yeah, Polymarket. We were just talking about it. You know, as of 6 hours ago, Trump was up 18, 19 points.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ooh, like, if Biden wasn't coming out and, like, sucker punching Kamala Harris's campaign, he might be up 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine that anything that Biden has said has actually swayed anybody.
No, not really. It's just funny.
Yeah, it is. It's hilarious. Because you can see it's just that old man anger.
Yeah, I think it's just him, like, we talked about, he's on, like, legacy mode. He's, what's it called when you're in school at the end there? Senioritis. When you're, like, a senior in high school, it's, like, near the end of the year. And you just kind of, you're going to pass, you're mailing it in. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, I had 4-yearitis.
Yeah, I did too. I had to literally miss baseball practice so I could graduate.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that. Yeah. No, I didn't do whenever any class would start and the teachers gave the breakdown. They were like, okay, this is what this is worth. This is what this is worth. Final exam was worth, 50%, whatever. Like, all right, so if I do all my tests and take the final, I don't have to do any homework or classwork. And I'll still pass with like a C- or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's all I ever did.
You weren't
I didn't do
yourself
homework.
much wiggle room.
No, but like, if I didn't know the stuff, I would do the homework.
Right.
But if I knew the stuff, I wasn't doing homework. Screw that, dude. I knew I wasn't going to college. I'm not trying to get a freaking 4.0 GPA. As long as I had C's, I could play sports.
College sucks, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna be going. God, I'm 38 years old, and I still don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah, same here. I think I'll figure it out soon, someday.
Yeah, I mean,
Once my
there's
kids
plenty.
graduate, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, especially with with the way that the economy's been. Yeah, we had four good years under Trump, but the whole Bush administration sucked. The whole Obama administration sucked. This last basically 5 years has sucked.
Hmm.
Since the end of 2019, everything sucked. So it's like it doesn't really bode well for going out there and taking big risks.
That's true. That's true. The biggest risk I want to take is to build a farm on 10 acres.
Yeah, exactly.
Get after
I'd
it.
just sell your house, get some land. I'd love to be completely off the grid. My wife and my kids would never go for it, but I would. I would absolutely. You'd never see me again, dude. I'd be no internet, no nothing.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I'd go on the grid, but I'd have the capabilities to not have to be. Slowly just start adding those pieces and getting it
Yeah.
ready. And then,
Well, I mean,
you know, something
I guess I
happens.
could. I guess I could still podcast, like do a wireless hotspot off my phone.
Yeah.
Could
But
still
you
do
can
that, but
get,
yeah,
they're put like internet's everywhere these days. So,
like ideally, I'd like to basically have no modern tethers, so to speak.
oh, you want to go that hard in the paint?
Dude, I'm not joking, man. I would literally go if I wasn't like if I was in the position that I'm in right now, like say God forbid something happens tomorrow and my wife and kids die. I'm pretty sure within like 6 months I'd be living with the Amish. I would literally go and live with the Amish.
Send it, huh?
I would.
Fine. I'll send you.
I mean,
I'll send you some telegrams.
well, I actually watched a pretty cool documentary, and then we can get into the show here. But I watched a pretty cool documentary over the weekend on YouTube about the Amish. Like they're kind of modernizing, right? Like you're not allowed to have like phones at your house, stuff like that. But like if you have a business,
Mhm.
when you're anywhere that you're not at home, you can have a phone. So you can run a business. Like they hire civilians, so to speak, like normies,
Mhm.
to do all their computer work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they just operate the business.
Yeah, and I'm sure they make like furniture and sell it to the public and stuff like that. They do things like that. So I'm assuming they have some technology.
Oh
Not
yeah,
that
they've
that
got
the,
like modern CNC and lathes and stuff like that, but their only rule is everything has to be run off generator power. If it's for work, you can have it. You just can't have it in the home.
gotcha.
Because
Okay.
they were saying in the documentary, they were like, we've obviously had to make some changes over the years. Like we can't survive as a people anymore with the way everything's automated. If we were still doing things without any tool, without any modern tools.
Yeah, yeah. Because like buying a kitchen set would be like $6,000.
Yeah, almost nobody would buy it.
So,
Like my dad bought a freaking chicken coop from those guys. It was he actually drove to freaking Pennsylvania to get it.
nice.
And dude, it's only like 8x6.
Mhm.
The thing's legit. It's dope. It's like the freaking Taj Mahal for chickens. But he had to drive to Pennsylvania, and when he bought it 15, 20 years ago, it was like $5,000.
Yeah, it was a solid oak.
Dude, yeah, it's whatever it is. It's actually, dude, it might be more like 10 years old. But either way, dude, it looks brand new still. Like they make some really good stuff.
They do. Put up a barn in a day.
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen those videos of them where they all just get the posts and then there's like 300 Amish dudes just carrying a friggin' barn.
Across a field.
Yeah. Crazy.
They're like pallbearers for houses.
Yeah, basically. Like, hey, Josiah wants to move to the other end of the field. Get all the boys over our house at 5. All right, 6 o'clock. Your house is moved.
Yep. And by 6:30, you're chewing on a long piece of straw.
That's right. Sitting on your porch while your wife's getting ready to crap out your 7th kid.
Yeah. She's churning butter while she does it.
All
Wild
right, dude, let's
times.
get into it.
You want to? Hey, you want to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Oh, Rory in the chat. What's up, Rory? Let's see. What are we starting off with here? We're gonna run the Kamala. Oh, the Brett Baer interview. So Kamala just did it. Like we were talking about. Kamala Harris has been on a media frenzy. She did the Breakfast Club. She did like a town hall media spot, I guess, with the Breakfast Club. Kind of weird. It's like a normal interview in the studio, but then there's like people sitting in the studio. The Breakfast Club. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I heard a couple clips from it, but I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I heard clips on podcasts. That's where I get all my info. But so she did that. She did Howard Stern. It was a fucking joke.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently today, earlier this evening, she did an interview on Fox News with Brett Baer. I know there's a couple other little ones somewhere in there that I'm forgetting. But anyways, and now there's rumors that both her and Trump might go on Joe Rogan's podcast, but Rogan hasn't said anything about it, and he doesn't usually do secretive stuff. He's not usually like keep it close to the vest and then try to get like a big audience out of it. He usually just says if he's going to do something. Does it? He may have just not said anything because nobody asked him.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back when, because he had Bernie Sanders on.
Yeah.
Before the 2016 election, right?
I feel like he's had him on twice.
Yeah. And then he had obviously Tulsi, but that was he announced that one because that was when Tulsi was starting to become disillusioned with the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember though with the first time that he had Bernie Sanders on. I don't think he made an announcement until like a few days before.
I don't think so either. But I don't think he was like hiding it either. I think he just schedules things and then does them. I don't think he doesn't try to like clickbait you or build up hype or anything Usually you're just sitting there and then like 2 Joe Rogan episodes get uploaded, one of them late morning, one in the afternoon, and all right.
Yeah, well, it's tough too with like a politician like that, too, because like anything can happen, right? Like, was it last week or the week before, Bongino was supposed to have Trump on for a live stream.
Oh.
And then because the second hurricane ended up coming, they had to push it back.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't really want to make a huge announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bongino announced it like, 3 or 4 days before it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then obviously the hurricane came and he was like, hey, I'm not going to ask the dude to come into a freaking hurricane zone.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Well, that's understandable.
So, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense to not be so upfront with having like a politician on because, you have something like that, a natural disaster, or, you're in a campaign, right? Like if Trump gets behind in the polls, which isn't going to happen at this point, like if he did and he had to go out and, really hit the ground running with more campaigns in swing states, like he might have to cancel on you.
Yeah. But I also don't think he would even cancel for that. Not for Rogan.
No, Rogan's way too big. He definitely wouldn't. But like that's the thing
Right.
you have to plan for. Like
Yeah.
anything can happen while they're running a campaign.
But I don't think Rogan's the type of person to like worry that he had to cancel it. I think he would just like if somebody was on his show today, then this is like the rumor going around, and they just asked him, I think he would just answer. What? No, that's just a rumor on the internet, dude. I haven't talked to anybody. They've been trying to call me, but I'm not doing it. He would just say it, or he would say, "Yeah, we better talk to them, and looks like we're gonna try and have them each on." He would just say that, I think, and then if it got canceled, he would just say, "Well, we had to cancel it."
Yeah.
That's all. You
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
he would just do that. I think it's good that they do it. I think it's very telling if Kamala is trying to go
Hmm.
because that is not going to go well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that she should not want to go on there
Right. And
because Joe is going to hit her with hard questions.
it's not even going to be like hostile or anything like that. He just, when something sounds fishy, he's inquisitive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
He's just
no,
going to ask.
he's not gonna be a dick about it, but he's not the type of guy that, from historical evidence, he's not the kind of guy that if she says some BS that he knows is BS, he's not gonna call her on it.
He's going to ask her a question about something, and she's going to answer it in her stupid roundabout way that really says nothing. And then he's going to go, but that doesn't really explain how. Da, da,
Hmm.
da, 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 da.
Right.
And then she's going to be stuck there.
Which is crazy, right? Because that's what the media. I mean, they were always left wing, but like they at least used to do that, right? They they played it as down the middle as they could. Now
Yeah.
nobody even pretends.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I think the reason why left wing like media used to do that to an extent, no matter what side they were on, was because before Obama, the left and the right were just all uniparty and just disagreed in the margin between them on how to do stuff. And so they were both in agreement that the government needed to have a power and they needed to sell war and police the world. And then they would just debate on like the best way to do that,
Hmm.
basically. One side wanted more social programs and stuff, and the other side wanted a little bit less. And they both wanted money for war, and it was just different, slightly different. So they just kind of would probe each other in those fringe areas in the margin. Now Trump comes in like a wrecking ball. Excuse me. After Obama divides the country by race and just starts shining a light in the corner, showing everybody the cockroaches.
Yeah.
And now we're here. And it was necessary. It needed to happen. It's crazy because Trump's not even that far right wing. He's very moderate, but he's moderate when it comes to like policy and kind of classical liberal and stuff like that. But he's anti-establishment moderate. So he's basically like libertarian moderate. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and like even back, in the 80s and whatnot, like at the height of the Cold War, right? Like you remember that time that it was Ronald Reagan and Walter Mondale doing their debate, and the moderator made a joke about Ronald Reagan, not really a joke, kind of a joke. You know what I mean? Like he brought up like basically in a joking manner about how people are worried that Ronald Reagan was, in his 70s or whatever.
Mhm.
And he was like, you know what? I'm not going to stoop to that level and, attack my opponent for his youth and inexperience. And it was a joke, and everybody knew it was a joke, and everybody on both sides laughed.
Right.
Like, we don't even have that anymore, dude.
You can't.
So it's insane. And I mean, politics is politics, right? Like, you don't need to be friends with but that just goes to show you how far, because there's no denying that the Republican Party has moved to the right, right? That's the only thing that you can do in response to how far the Democrat Party has gone to the left. But if you're talking, if you're talking how far, the left has gone exponentially further to the left.
Oh, I would agree. Um, the yeah, the left is just running away from uh, regular people, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, that's why you have like people like Tulsi Gabbard and stuff like that are leaving the Democrat Party.
Well, look at the coalition right now around Trump. RFK.
Hmm.
RFK. So I don't. Some of these people aren't for sure, but you have RFK, you have Tulsi Gabbard for sure. You have, Trump has even pulled over some like big tech people that used to be like default Democrat, like hardcore. Um, I would say, I would speculate he has pulled in people like Barack. I think he is going to be a secret possible Trump voter. I think he's pulled in people like Mark Zuckerberg. I think he may be a secret Trump voter. A lot more
I don't
people
know
are
about that
speaking
one.
out. A lot of people are speaking out. If Zuckerberg was a Kamala Harris supporter, there would be no reason for him not to just say it. He could join the ranks of all the other famous and rich celebrities, and he could fit right in. Instead, he comes out and says, "We fucked up. We made a mistake. They did pressure us. Free speech is important. I've learned my ways." He's been doing jujitsu. He's been around a bunch of alpha men who don't put up with bullshit. There was really not much benefit to that unless he was just worried about the 55, 60-year-olds on Facebook.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, at a certain point, he has to be worried about that, right? Like everybody, yeah, he has Instagram. That's part of Meta. But I don't think Instagram is actually at a place where it's making money still. Like last I knew, as of like a year or two ago, Instagram was still operating in the red massively.
Yeah, I don't know how that stuff works, to be honest with you. I don't keep track of
So
that.
like he can't, right? I don't know, man. Zuckerberg's a weird one, right? Because he obviously has to pander to an extent. He doesn't have to because he obviously never has, but like he can't let things go too far to the left because the majority of people who use Facebook are older people, right?
Sure.
They're like older millennials, Gen X and boomers.
Right.
So those people are majority conservative, right? It's like the old saying goes, if you're young and you're not a liberal, you have no heart. If you're older and you're not a conservative, you have no brain. Right? People naturally become more conservative as they get older because they have more things that they want to conserve.
Responsibility.
Yeah, once you've got a house and you've got vehicles and you're starting to build a 401k or whatever the case is, you want to protect that. You don't want people giving that stuff away.
Of
You don't want
course.
to lose everything that you worked for your whole life, so you're going to become naturally a little more conservative.
Right.
But then, like, Zuckerberg came out and he was like, oh, hey, he had that, like, I don't know what the term would be, like mea culpa moment or whatever, where like, he was like, oh yeah, the Biden administration, they leaned on us pretty heavy during COVID to censor, and we will never do that again. But I was just reading earlier today that they're already throttling anti-Kamala posts on Facebook again.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
know he's got people in the ranks though. He has to fish out. I'm sure he can't just. It's not like he's pushing all the buttons. company.
Well,
But
right, but all he has to do is come out and say, "Hey, we said we weren't going to do this anymore. Either get in line or you're fired." And he's not doing that.
yeah,
Seemingly.
right.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that but I can't imagine as a CEO of Facebook that you can't just go and tell everybody, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore. If you do this and you're the head of this department, you're going to be fired."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I just don't know why these people would come out. I just think that, like, for example, I think The Rock tries to be a genuine person. He plays the game. He's a Hollywood guy. You know what I mean? He likes to live in those circles, and he would lose all of that if he just came out and was like, "I was wrong." Trump makes a lot of sense. And I think the only way that they can, I think they try to like stroke their own, like their own conscience. They think by doing the whole "I'm not going to endorse anybody" thing, that's the same as like being honest with their opinion. And it's more of a cop out. But
Yeah.
I just don't see why they would. I don't see why they would do that. Like, why would they hedge their bets at all when their entire industry is totally safe for them to keep going down the same path? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I wonder I've thought about this before. Like I wonder, you have someone like The Rock, right? He's the biggest quote unquote movie star in the world. Hands down, he has been for probably the last decade.
It's pretty big.
How many rocks would it take? Right? Politics is downstream from culture. But Hollywood is also downstream from culture.
Yeah, they used to
Right.
run the culture, but now the internet is coming out. Like, they've lost a lot of market share when it comes to just stardom and influence, because now there's influencers who are like dudes on their couch.
Right. So I wonder how many rocks it would take to come out and be like, "Listen, guys, we had this wrong." Like, obviously, look at again, it's the foil, right? It's the foil. You had 8 years of Obama. You had 3 years of Trump, and now you've had almost 4 years of Biden. Like, we can tell what works and what doesn't
Mm-hmm.
pretty easily,
Right.
because it was the 3 good years was sandwiched in between 12 bad years. So I don't know, man. I honestly I have no idea, but I wonder how many people like The Rock, if they actually did, you know, believe what you're saying they potentially could. I wonder how many of them it would take to change the culture of Hollywood. I don't think it would take that many, dude.
Yeah. I don't know either. I think they would cling to it though, because they kind of still
Well, Hollywood's
cling
always
to
been
it.
lefty.
Yeah.
But if you had, you know, 3, 4, 5 of your top 10 stars that were all openly, conservative, so to speak, or at least like libertarian, moderate libertarian,
Yeah.
you know, I think it would end up changing the culture of Hollywood, because they still have to go with the hot hand, right? Like, they're not gonna. I mean, look at well, that's kind of a bad example, but I think he just retired. But I was gonna say, like, look at Denzel Washington. Like, Denzel Washington was the biggest guy in Hollywood for 15 years, right? And he
He's
was
been pretty
openly a
based
more
all the time.
conservative guy,
Yeah.
but they kept going with him because he was a hot hand.
That's true. And but I will say he had the black card protection slightly.
Well, I think The Rock is half black, half Samoan, so he's got it. He's got the minority card covered.
They wouldn't I don't know if they'd let that one slide, because that's not an oppressed enough class these days.
Well, I mean, look at Obama. He's half white, but anybody only ever calls him black.
True. Kamala Harris is Indian, Irish, Jamaican.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, let's get into the clips.
You want to get into the clips? Enoch, what do you say we get into the clips? How do you feel about that?
Let's do that. Let's do that.
You want to do that? Get into some of these clips over here?
I find the meltdown that is the Kamala Harris campaign to be hilarious.
It's hilarious indeed. Boink, boink.
So these first two clips are just clips that are like a shortened version of Bret Baier. He was being interviewed by Fox News after his discussion with Kamala Harris.
This is a tweet or an X post from Graham Allen. This is embarrassing. Bret Baier says Kamala's staff was desperately trying to end the Fox interview.
Dana, you've been on the other side. You've been on the rapper as a press secretary interviewing a president. And, you know, I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands like it's got to stop. So, Martha, I had to dismount there at the end. There's so many things, and she maybe should do more of these. Dana, you've been on the other side.
She maybe should do more of these.
The rapper.
Can we, there's one thing I just have to say. Bret Baier doesn't have a neck.
Yeah, he really doesn't. I don't have much of a neck either, but that dude has he's immune to chokeholds.
You can't choke. Yeah, like Bret Baier, you can't choke him.
No.
You can't choke him out.
You ain't getting under that chin.
No. Not possible. But yeah, so I saw that. I did see that clip earlier when I was looking for clips to pull up.
That one was actually kind of my bad though. I had 2 of them. I thought that was the right one. So the clip that I actually wanted was about the same length, and it was the same thing. But he was discussing how they were in the background. Her staffers were in the background, waving their arms at him.
Yeah, I
trying
saw
to get
that.
his attention. Yeah.
I also saw that. Apparently, they were supposed to start at 5, and they kept pushing
that's
it
the
off.
next clip.
Okay, you have it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the next clip.
They call a timeout right before he's going to kick the field goal. They're icing the kicker. So we were supposed to start at 5 p.m. This was the time they gave us. Originally, we were going to do 25 or 30 minutes. They came in and said, well, maybe 20. So it was already getting whittled down. And then the vice president showed up about 5:15. We were pushing the envelope to be able to turn it around for the top of the 6 o'clock. So that's how it started. And I could tell when we started talking that she was going to be tough to redirect without me trying to interrupt. I did this with President Obama. At one point, I just said, Mr. President, I know you like the filibuster. I just didn't even have the chance to sometimes redirect in those ways. I had a lot of other questions. When
Yeah. Not surprising. She just wanted to say she did a Fox interview and she wanted to get in and out of there with as little amount of damage as possible. I'm just going to say it right now. I think that if she goes on Rogan, I bet you they go, our schedule's booked up. We have a solid hour.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Hard out. I also think that, because I've seen Rogan do this too. I've seen Rogan have a guest on and the podcast be done in an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, he's definitely done it.
But 95% of his podcasts go 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I can tell that's just because he's got nothing else to ask. He's done with it.
Yeah.
I've seen him do that with guests. He's like, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't want to do it anymore. And he's just like, all right, well, let's wrap this thing up. All right. Let's get out
Yeah,
of here.
I mean, and historically, he's done shorter podcasts on purpose, also, right? Like, I think it was the second time he had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. Like, Neil deGrasse Tyson was on like a layover on a flight, and he just
Yeah.
contacted Joe, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be in town for like 2 hours," and he's like, "All right, cool, come on," and they talked for like, I don't know, like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense when it's planned. It's just I can tell like some of them where he's just like, there's nothing here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just saying that in terms of like, if she was like, "Hey, we can only do an hour," he'd be like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll do it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Right. Yeah.
Like, he's not like, "Oh, if you can't stay for 2 to 3 hours, then I'm not gonna do it."
And then Trump would probably get like, I think he could talk to Trump for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, because 'cause they'd end up they would talk for a little bit about,
Everything.
they'd start off just, like, niceties, and then they'd talk a little bit of policy, and Trump would say something funny, and
They
then
get
Joe would
into
start telling him.
UFC.
Yeah, they'd end up talking all sorts of stuff, yeah.
He'd ask him about his golf. He'd talk about golf course. Then Trump would ask him questions. Trump would be like,
Oh, yeah.
try to learn stuff from him.
Yeah, that would be an absolute barn burner, so to speak, for the Trump campaign. If he actually managed to get on. But that's the thing too, I think I remember, unless he's changed his policy, I think Joe has said in the past that he would never have on just one party.
He said
Because I
that
think
after
in the 2020 election, Trump agreed to come on his podcast, but Joe Biden wouldn't. So he's like, I don't want to appear partisan.
right.
So I'm not gonna have on just the Republican.
I've heard him say that too, but I don't know. I think that's a cop out. I hold Rogan to a little
do
bit
too.
higher standard than I think he I think he does a really great job. I credit him for even making me aware of this side of politics that I'm on now. Not that he is that, but he has people on, and I get to hear people speak logically, and I find interesting people that I then go and check out in their own like their own streams of stuff, and then I learn more. And that started with Joe, with Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
People talking for 3 hours being authentic. So, but I hold him to a higher standard because I do think he gets emotional when he talks about some of like the social programs and stuff. And it's frustrating to me because I know how smart he is, and I know he researches things, and I know he's pretty logical and pretty reasonable. But he does care about people, and he cares about things. He wants to see things do better. The fact that he can't get himself into understanding how economic policies work, it's frustrating to me. Because I keep seeing his heart bleed for like social programs and helping the downtrodden and stuff. And I understand that as a principle, as a want to do as a human being. But that doesn't work at the federal level. It just doesn't. You can't run the economic system of the country on that. And for him to not even dive into the economics of it and come to a logical, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, and that's obviously his major blind spot, right? He's a liberal. He's always going to be a liberal. I don't think anything would make him not liberal.
He's even admitted it. He's like, I had hippie parents.
Yeah. Like he might find certain policies that are conservative that he'll back.
Yeah.
But he's never going to stop being a liberal.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, because he's pretty reasonable about it. And at the end of the day, his vote's never going to change anything.
Right.
Right. Like his one individual vote, there's never going to be an election that's decided by one vote. It's just not going to happen, statistically speaking. So like him being, a good guy and being a slightly left of center Democrat for the rest of his life isn't going to hurt the country.
No, it's fine. If more Democrats were like him, we'd be in a lot better shape.
We sure would.
Yeah. So let's continue with the Kamala.
Do it.
Kamala. This is a post from Clay Travis. Is this the sports guy?
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Here's a tweet from Clay Travis. Kamala Harris's long pause when she was finally asked for the first time when she first noticed Joe Biden's cognitive decline is telling. She tries to attack Trump, but the hamster stops running on the brain wheel. Tommy Lair in the top comment. The hamster is deceased. R.I.P.
You call Donald Trump. He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
Right. I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes.
Yeah, but why isn't Joe Biden on the ballot anymore?
That he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who
they obviously
know him best,
don't. Look at your numbers.
No,
leaders of our national security community have all spoken out. Even
You've
people
lost
who
the black
worked
men.
for him in the
The
Oval
black men
Office.
are waking up, and they're like, "This ain't happening. You ain't playing this trick on me anymore."
Yeah, that's very telling, right? She tried, obviously, like it said, she tried to shift the blame and the attention on Trump, but I wish Brett would have hit her back with that. I wish he would have called her out for that when she was like, "Oh, he's not on the ballot." He should have been like, "Yeah, why isn't he on the ballot? That's exactly what we're trying to talk about right now."
Yeah, I think.
Why are you the first presidential nominee for their party who never went through a primary?
Yeah. He could have dug in there, or I think also what he could have said when she said, "But Donald Trump, but Joe Biden's not on the ballot." What he should have said was, "I'm not asking this question to find out about Joe Biden. I'm asking this question to find out why you didn't fulfill your oath to the office for the American people."
Yep.
In the second most powerful position in the government. On paper, you know what I mean? Like, you're the person who, God forbid something happens to the president, becomes the president. That's how close you are.
Yep.
To that seat. The question isn't about Joe Biden. It's about, we're trying to figure out you. Why didn't you do something about it?
Well, she was the acting president for about, what was it, 2.5, 3 weeks, right? I think it was last year.
Oh, yeah, like surgery or something.
Biden got COVID.
Yeah.
And he was just MIA for like 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, but that's the thing about, this is why mainstream media is dead, because these short little bursts, like even when they get like an interview set up, it's like short. It's already short. It's already locked into a certain time frame. It's too scripted. Like, she's prepped for this interview like she prepped for a debate.
Yeah.
Her team knows all the questions they're going to ask, or all the questions that they would ask, and then they prep her for all of them, and then she's ready for whatever, and then the ones he asks, she's studied for, most likely. And she's going to have her responses for them. And even after that, she can't do it. She can't speak. She's not verbally sharp.
No, I mean, she's just genuinely an unintelligent human being.
I think she may be intelligent in some ways, but I just
I
don't
think she's book smart.
She
I think she's
can't.
book smart, right? She
Well, not
passed
even
the
that.
bar.
Have you seen that? She failed the bar the first time.
Well, but most people do, to be fair.
True. But also, did you see that like some of some of her like college like paperwork stuff was like partly plagiarized? I saw that.
Yeah, that just came out a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, she's been plagiarizing since like her college thesis or whatever.
Off Wikipedia was one of them.
Yeah, she changed 2 words, like she added 2 words in, and she's like, "Well, we're good. We're good."
Next clip here from Trump War Room. Kamala, screaming, has completely cracked under the pressure of the first non-softball interview of her vice presidency.
Talked about locking people up because they
look at her move around.
disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a
It's actually
democracy,
a republic.
the president of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing.
Wait a second. I have to step in here. He should be able to handle criticism. He's the single most criticized human being on the planet right now.
He sure is, buddy.
Doing it. Talked about law.
And water off a duck's back. They've tried to get him for so many things and nothing ever sticks. At what point do you go, fuck, maybe there's nothing?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the amount of times they've taken him to court, like
Impeachment.
something. I mean, even he just got that big W. What was it, last week or the week before? We didn't talk about it on the podcast, but where the Superior Court judge came out and was like, dude, you can't fine a guy $350 million for taking out a loan and paying it back with interest on time.
Right.
And so he got all that big fine that he got, where is what the Democrats say, oh yeah, he was convicted of felonies, he's a felon. The judge just overturned it. He's like, that's insane. You can't do that. There's literally no victim. The bank that he dealt with said they'd love to do business with him again. He paid back his loan on time with interest.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they said that he deserved a felony for that.
Yeah, they're like, you can't. How do you convict someone on a crime where there's no victim?
Yeah. The people that you said. And that was the craziest thing too, right? Because that was what the judge said. He's like, the only reason that it even appears like he did anything wrong was because the only party witness to this was the bank, who you barred from speaking in court.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would have come in and been like, yeah, like he paid us back. Nobody cares. People lie about the value of their properties all the time.
Oh my God, this one's already looking funny. This one from Colin Rugg. Kamala Harris loses it after Brett Baier calls her out for not protecting the southern border. The moment came after Baier called out Harris for ending Trump's strong border policy. Boy. Ah, this is my man Gunther.
Just a frozen face on this. You can already tell. She's getting ready to speak a whole bunch of word salad.
By the way, you know she's just Jar Jar Binks, right?
She looks like Jar Jar.
She looks a lot like Jar Jar. Oh, Lord.
Just finish. I'll get you the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting
what
trial.
Brett Baier lacks in neck he
instead,
gave to Kamala.
Included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called
And
the
the
U.S.
Republicans didn't vote for it.
Citizenship Act of 2021. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the. Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding,
But
please?
here- but this-
you have to let me finish.
You
please.
had the White House and the House
She's
and
doing
the
it
Senate.
right
I'm
there,
in the
right?
middle
That's the
of
one moment she looks for in
responding
everything.
To the point you're
Dude,
raising.
you know what I just thought of?
Can I finish? She's like
South
Terrence.
Park.
She's like Terrence and Phillip. Yeah.
Can I finish, please?
Can I finish, please?
Can I finish?
Okay, I'm finished.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
finished.
Yeah, okay, I'm finished. Like that's what she is, dude. She's
I am
Terrence and
going to
Phillip.
I am going to soundbite that. I am going to edit that together. I am going to supercut that.
Do it up. I would
That's
do it,
funny.
but I'm too technologically retarded.
Remind
I
me
don't know
to
how to
do
do
it
any of that.
because I want to have it. I want to have it.
Can I finish? Okay, I'm finished. Yeah, she has nothing to say, right? And
You're
again,
an uncle fucker.
here she goes, right? Like she's trying to pin the border on Republicans. She didn't even answer his question. He asked her, "Do you regret removing Remain in Mexico?" And she's like, we tried to pass a bill. It's like, yeah, and you knew it wasn't going to go through,
Here's
but you
the
put it
thing.
up there knowing that it wouldn't go through, so that you had
Ammo.
effectively an alibi for why you didn't do anything. Because you're like, well, we tried. We gave them this bill. They wouldn't sign it.
Yeah, they wanted ammo. They wanted an issue to run on. They wanted a grievance.
Yeah, they
basically.
knew when they handed that bill over, it was never going to get signed. The Republicans were still in control of the House.
Right.
They knew it wasn't going to get through.
And call me crazy, but like, for what reason do you have to remove the executive order to pass a bill?
What was that?
Why would you have to remove the executive order to pass a bill? Why couldn't you just submit the bill, leave the order in place?
Yeah, I mean, she's just moving the goalpost. Exactly. Like a path to citizenship, which is what that bill was, like Brett Baer said. That has nothing to do with Remain in Mexico. Remain in Mexico is to keep them from chewing up our tax dollars while they're here in this country.
Right.
Because especially back, like, I don't know where it is now. I haven't looked it up in a while, but, these people are getting court dates to, their appearance dates to start getting some sort of legal path, not even to citizenship, just to basically have them be here legally, illegally. They were getting court dates for 2-3 years down the road.
Right.
So
Yep.
these people are going to be getting government assistance for 2-3 years each. But if you left Remain in Mexico there, we're not paying for these people.
Right.
That $1.5 billion each year that we're paying, or no, $150 billion. Sorry, $150 billion a year that we're paying for illegal immigrants in this country. Maybe that goes down to 100.
That would be nice, right?
I mean, that's a drop in the bucket for our government. Just look at the debt, the national debt. It's going to go up probably $7 billion during the count of this show.
Right. That's crazy. Oh, you know what else I have
Just
to do?
finish. I'll get you the question. I promise.
I'm gonna have to make a character called Gunther Friegelman.
Gunther Friegelman.
Yeah, this guy Gunther Eagleman's like a super popular on X.
Oh, okay.
He's got almost 1 million followers.
Dang.
Just a wicked patriot Trump supporter guy. But I was like, I could take the Friegel and superimpose it on Gunther's avatar and call it Gunther Friegelman.
There you go.
Next up, we got another clip here. This one posted by the Hodge twins. It says, "It's over for Kamala Harris. Listen to her."
People are
Percent of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, That track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking
You don't.
about.
What are you talking about?
What I'm
I
talking
don't.
about is that over the last decade,
But you're
people
the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, frankly,
Those aren't
exhausted of
Republicans.
Brett.
More than
People are
70%
No.
of people
exhausted.
tell the country.
No, you get freaking Dick Cheney's daughter, and you get freaking John McCain's daughter that come out and they support you. Dude, those are not Republicans.
Right. And what's funny, it's funny because they keep doing this thing like, look at all the Republicans that are backing me now. It's like, you do realize that the Republican Party is no longer belongs to those people, right?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, Mitt Romney. It's like, dude, Mitt Romney is like the most milquetoast human being that's ever existed. Politically, he's a moron, but he's a genuinely decent guy, right? Like, he's politically evil. As a human being, you can't really have anything against him as a human being, so to speak. And when he was running for president against Biden in 2012,
Yeah.
they crapped all over this dude and said he was freaking the reincarnation of Satan.
Oh yeah, well that's what the left does.
And then
for
now
every
he's
single,
a great guy.
Crowder had a bit a few weeks back where they were talking about the rhetoric and stuff, and Trump's the most evil, and he put together this whole segment about how the left, the Democratic Party, has been saying this about
Mhm.
every opposition candidate. George Bush. Pundits said it about George Bush. They said it about, like, they went back. He kept going back to Republican.
Yeah, every Republican that's running for
every-
president has been Hitler since like the 1970s.
Yeah. It was crazy to me.
The only one that they've really managed to make it stick with is Trump. And
Yeah.
that's only because Trump's so popular.
Right. And because he broke the mold. He stole the Republican Party. He woke up the people. He's anti-establishment.
Yeah.
Before it was just them using it as like a bully line in the friendly competition that is right-wing establishment versus left-wing establishment.
Yeah.
We got another clip here from Ryan Saavedra on X. Says this line from Kamala Harris is going to cost her the election.
They'd say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition
Well,
surgeries
you know what? You got to
happened
take
during
responsible for what
his
happened in your
presidency.
administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in this pregnancy. They'd say that he never advocated.
So, like, how disconnected with the American public is this woman, right? He's
Completely.
saying, he's talking about transgender surgery, and she goes, this is going to be a good point. He has to take responsibility for the choices of his administration. It's like, wait, so you're trying to sit there and say that he's a bad guy because he didn't let psychopath parents, cut their sons' wieners off, and he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, she's just so disconnected. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't, it goes back to what we always say,
Career
right?
politicians are ladder climbers. They just
Yeah, it
don't
just goes
really-
back to what we always say. Like, is this ignorance or is it malice? Like, at this point, any Democrat that's mainstream, national, it's all malice. It's all malice. There's no more ignorance at this point.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
understand.
we
it.
have the studies, we've got 10 plus years of studies that prove that the transgender suicide rate is like 41%. And
It
after
doesn't change.
post-op, it's like 39 or 40%.
It doesn't change. Yeah.
Like, getting surgery saves like 1 out of every 200 people.
Because one out of every two of those people actually feel that way.
Exactly. Most people who are quote unquote transgender are kids who are just confused because they're kids, and then by the time they hit puberty, they're like, "Oh, turns out I actually am a boy.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
actually like my wiener, and I actually like girls."
I think the
It turns out when I was a little kid, I liked girls, so I wanted to be around girls. I didn't
Yeah.
actually want to be a girl.
Yeah. Or they were just confused. It's a fucking flood of hormones when you're going through that time of your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the desistance rate among kids who claim like transgenderism that are left alone to go through puberty, it's like 90%. Like
Oh yeah, it's almost all of them.
puberty like cures their transgenderism 98% of the time or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very rare that someone who thinks they're transgender remains that way once they get out of adolescence.
Here's another clip from that Breakfast Club town
Breakfast
hall.
Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really catch much of this.
This one's posted by Jason Robertson on X.
Donald Trump would go into the Department of Justice and manipulate it in such a way that it would be used as a weapon against his political enemies.
Yeah, he's going to
More evidence,
he gets back in office.
right?
Well, by the way, you should look at his words. I don't think that you as a journalist should feel so
I know
sure
that. 100%. I'm out of here.
Journalists, judges, others. And you know who does that? Dictators do that. Other countries do that. Donald Trump.
Dude, this
Literally?
is just more evidence of freaking Marxism, right? Accuse your opponent of doing exactly what you're doing. She
Yes.
says that he's going to weaponize
The Department of Justice.
the Department of
against
Justice.
his enemies.
It's like, oh, so you mean that all the people that have been attacking him for the last 8 years, he's going to fire them? And if they were found to actually be doing something illegal, which many of them were, he's going to prosecute them?
Yeah.
And that's weaponizing the DOJ. But actually weaponizing the DOJ isn't a problem because Orange Man bad.
Yeah. Perfect example. Just this past week, Virginia found some problems in their voter rolls, actually. So back when Trump thought the election was fucked up, people started saying the election's not, we got to figure this out. It's fraud. The elections aren't safe and secure, right? They take it to court. People don't realize this. There's a bunch of things that went to court. A lot of them won. But they said there's nothing they can do. They can't change anything.
Yeah.
All they can do is going forward, fix it. Right? So what do they do? Virginia says, we're going to clean out our voter rolls. We're not going to look at the voter rolls once a month. We're going to look at them every day. And clean out the bad registrations for deceased or illegal citizens or whatever the case. You clean out the voter rolls. And so now, this past week, Virginia realized that a bunch of illegal or a bunch of non-citizens, self-proclaimed non-citizens, they checked the box that says non-citizen on the forms, have been registered to vote in Virginia. Virginia said, we got to clear these people out. DOJ is suing Virginia.
Yeah, because they want illegals to vote.
Exactly.
And if they're not if they don't want them to vote, even if they don't want them to vote, it doesn't matter, right? Because with all this stuff that they're saying, oh, mail-in ballots, it takes time to count these ballots.
Yeah.
They're going to look at it and they're going to say, oh, okay, well, in Virginia, we've got 7,000 illegals registered to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Once they realize they're behind in Virginia, they can go and print 700 ballots and vote in those people's names.
Right.
Which is exactly what they did in 2020. That's part of the things that they did. They created, dead. They've been doing it, for years, right? They take dead people that are still on the voting rolls. Someone votes for them. It's like, hey, my mother-in-law voted, but she died 10 years ago. That's weird.
But they sent us the ballot in the mail, so we filled it out.
Right. Yeah, it's stupidity. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, they're like, oh, you can't do stuff like that. And what is it, Glenn Youngkin, the Virginia governor, where when he explained it, he was like, listen, I understand that there could be errors, right? If these people are migrants, maybe they don't understand the English language quite so well. The first time they answer it, they read it wrong, they screw it up. He goes, no, every one of these people confirmed they were not citizens 2 to 3 times before we took them off the voter roll.
Yeah, wasn't an accident.
There was redundancy built in.
Yeah.
They didn't just say like, oh, look, this, English second language person accidentally checked the wrong box. They were like, wait a second, did you check the wrong box or are you not a citizen? Like, yeah, no, I'm not a citizen.
Yeah, they checked it on multiple locations on forms, like multiple times. Yeah. These people are nuts.
Yeah.
Here's another one. This one posted by Mike Singleton.
I think they've been saying a lot of your press hits get criticized. Folks say you come very scripted. They say you like to stick to your talking points, and some media says you have.
That would be called disciplined.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Watch your facial expressions.
I was gonna say, some people say you have an inability to fearlessly say who you are and what you believe. I know that's not true. But what do you say to that criticism?
I know that's not
true. Is it
true.
fair for SNL to make fun of it?
Is it fair for SNL to make fun of it? Dude, this guy acts like such a fucking tough guy, and he's such a fucking pussy. He's such a bitch, dude.
Like, regardless of all that, like, dude, I'm sorry. If you call yourself a god, you're already a loser. You're already a loser.
I agree.
Like,
I also
my name is Charlemagne the God.
I also think something about his, like, I don't know if it's his eyes or whatever. He looks like a girl.
Rudolph been wonderful.
Yes.
I think I have nothing but admiration for the comedy, and I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself and each other.
But what do you say to people
in the spirit of obviously comedy and not belittling people as my opponent would do.
But what do you say to people who say you stay on the talking points?
Look at
as she belittles Trump.
Look at his eyes. He looks like a woman.
Yeah.
You put him in a burqa, that's a lady.
I would agree. I mean, I don't know how big he is.
You're welcome.
He might be a little.
I mean,
well, I'm just saying, just the head.
He might be
I
a little
love having
twink.
conversations, which is why I'm so happy to be with you this afternoon. And the reality is that there are certain things that must be repeated to ensure that I have every.
He actually looks kind of Middle Eastern, doesn't he? Like Indian?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Everyone know what I stand for
Like
and the issues
look at
that
the
I think are at
eyebrows,
stake in this
thick
election.
eyebrows, and
so it requires repetition. Some people say that if
you might have
until
like
someone has
multiple.
heard the same thing at least 3 times, it just doesn't stay with you. So repetition is important. And for that reason, yes, at my rallies, I say the same thing when I go to Detroit as I do in Philly, as I do wherever I am, to make sure that people hear and receive what I think are some of the most critical issues that are at stake in this election.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really a big deal. A lot of people like have their stump speeches and they hit the same lines over and over again because when you're trying to make sure you say the same things, you end up saying the same things. Get it? Discipline.
Yeah, but she has the exact same speech at every, like, Trump will talk about all the same points, but he goes off the cuff and he'll talk about different things and he'll have random little conversations in between. But yeah, her speeches, all of her campaign speeches are word for word the same.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of politicians that I like do that when they're like campaigning, because they're going to a new location. They're not. It all goes on the internet, and the people that are following it keep hearing the same shit over and over and over again. But the whole point of it is not because they're doing it for us. They're doing it for the people that haven't heard it.
Yeah.
Like when you go to the debates aren't for us or whatever. The interview hits aren't for us. We follow all the interview hits. So you know the answers.
Oh, dude, I wish I would have remembered because now it just triggered my. Did you see the clip? It was probably like Monday or something like that. It came out Sunday or Monday where she was doing like a town hall and she was standing down on the stage and people were asking her questions. Yeah, but all the responses were on the teleprompter and the prompter froze and she just started rambling.
I did. I remember, might have been Crowder. No, who was it? Oh, I saw a video on YouTube or something. It was they were saying, watch see if you can tell the moment when the teleprompter froze. I think it might have been Bongino, something.
Yeah, it might have been. Like I said, I think it was. I either saw it Sunday or Monday, so it could have been Bongino for sure.
I just remember somebody saying, for the folks listening, like, see if you can spot the moment when the teleprompter freezes. I think it was Bongino because the people in the chat were saying it.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. I didn't watch the clip, but I heard it. It was crazy.
Yeah, I actually watched the clip because the reason that she got caught, it was just bad timing. Either that or the cameraman's based. Like, so she obviously had the cameras kind of facing her from the front, and you know how they have the ones that are like on wheels?
Yeah, like dollies and stuff.
Yeah, like it scooped around, like say my microphone
or on a boom.
Was her. It came around like this, kind of behind her to the side, and the teleprompter was right there.
I saw that one, yeah. I saw that one tonight when I was looking around.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it because, like, I was trying to pause it and see what was on the teleprompter. Because I wanted to see what it said.
Yeah, I remember seeing the clip when it first kind of, I guess you'd say, like, dropped or came out, whatever. And it was what she was saying. The words were the same as what she was saying.
Okay, because the one I found out wasn't, like, the resolution wasn't nearly good enough to see the words.
Yeah, she was reading her response. She was reading her answers off a teleprompter, which means everybody who was asking questions was pre-selected.
Predetermined.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome possum.
All right, this is funny. I wish I had more time to get clips from this interview because there's a bunch of good ones. Well, this is Trump went to the Economic Club of Chicago for like a conference or something like that. Partnered with like Bloomberg News, and Trump's doing an interview on stage at this event. Forget the guy's name that's doing the interview, but this is posted by at Don't Walk Run on X. It says the audience at the Economic Club of Chicago listening to Trump are calling bullshit on there was no peaceful transfer of power in 2021 narrative. People are sick of hearing about J6. No one cares.
Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to respecting and encouraging a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
You had a peaceful transfer of power. You had a peaceful. Come on, President Trump. You had a peaceful transfer of power compared with Venezuela, but it was by far the worst transfer of power for a long time.
Thank you. I
think Al Gore,
appreciate that,
Bush.
This is what they like to do. This is what they like to do. It's very interesting.
Question, President
I
Trump,
love it because when he doesn't like he talks to the people.
When I found out about this interview, I did a little
Al Gore, Bush,
He's a man that has not been
Obama
a
to
big
Trump.
fan over the years.
Those are both
So
just as bad, if not worse.
I want to hit. Listen.
It's very interesting.
Question, President Trump, is would you respect the decision?
When I found out about this interview, I did a little check. He's a man that has not been a big Trump fan over the years. So I had a choice. Do I do this interview or not? I'm glad I did it. But do I do this interview or do I disappoint a lot of people? Because I know a lot of people in the audience. But his view is very different than mine. Let me just tell you.
Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to
I wish I had more time. There's a bunch of good sound bites from this interview. This is a good one. This one might make you laugh.
How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, I call him.
But do you think?
No, he corrected me. I said,
that's
the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's fine for a president?
But they don't have to survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There's never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way.
Well, you made a very good job of
He signed a bill in California 2 days ago.
The hands are
that
going.
You don't
You know
even
he's
have
on
the
when the
right
hands are going.
to ask a person for voter ID. And if you ask a person for voter ID, of course you have to show voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't do, because they want to cheat. The bill says you cannot, it's against the law for you to ask a person, may I please see your voter ID when he votes? What is our country coming to? What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are
It's
business
not a debate.
people. There
No,
are
but
business
you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
Dude. That's so fucking good. Dude, there's more funny clips than this, and I wish I could find them quickly because they're unbelievable. He eviscerates this guy. Oh my.
Yeah, so yeah, Maine has no voter ID.
How about this?
Oh,
But I make a point every time I go vote. Because you just walk up and they're like, "What's your name?" and you say so and so, and then they say, "Do you live here?" Like you don't even have to tell them your address. They say, "Do you live here?" So like I could literally go in and vote for my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
I could just like be like, "Hey, my name's so and so. Do
Yeah.
you live here?" Yep. And I'm always like, "Do you want to see my ID?" And they're like, "We don't need to see your ID." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but like you probably should, right?" And they always just look at me kind of dumbfounded.
Yeah, because they're dumb.
It's like the idea that people can vote in this country without having to show that they are who they say they are is just insane. Unfortunately, my state is one of the retarded 14 that doesn't have voter ID.
Oh, I know, right? Like,
I think it's 14. It might be like 13 or 16 or something like that. But it's right around 14, 15 states.
We're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. You're also talking about 10, 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the economy.
I agree. It's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just let me
give me an
I know
example.
how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative, and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further. If you don't do this,
President
this
Trump,
country has no
40
chance.
million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're
trade.
all coming back.
Those are 40 million
lost.
jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened them with tariffs and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here.
Yeah, so tariffs are a weird thing for me. Because yes, they are effective, but the libertarian in me says you can't do it because it's a tax on the consumer. But there's no denying that. I mean, if you wanted to bring...
It depends on what it's followed through with. If you just slap tariffs on stuff and don't change things, I get that. But if you're doing it and the outcome is the company or the jobs or the products keep being made here and maybe they cost a little bit more, but if everybody is benefiting from the fact that the money circulates in our country.
Yeah, there's definitely good qualities to tariffs, but my biggest thing with it's cronyism. Like, you're forcing companies to work here, to produce here. You shouldn't have the ability to do that. That's just as bad as the government That's like it's effectively right-wing socialism.
In a sense, I get that. But I guess what I would say is, so this is where I get a little bit off the libertarian train. I'm on the libertarian train for a bunch of stops, but then there's a certain point where I get off and I go, all right, libertarian train, I got to get off here, and you're going to go whatever. And there's a bunch of libertarians that kind of agree with me, like, you know, Mises Caucus in general. Like, they want secure borders, and a large sect of the Libertarian Party thinks that that's anti-libertarian. I believe in a lot of libertarian policies for our country, within our borders. We secure our stuff, and then we allow libertarianism to thrive in the controlled ecosystem of our country. Whereas, like, the crazy, like, regular libertarians are like, you can't keep people from moving freely. It's like, listen, if you don't have control over an area to protect those laws, then you don't have control. And you have nothing.
Yeah.
They can't protect your libertarian ideas because it will just be pure chaos. And if you don't think somebody else will take power, I don't care how libertarian America becomes. If Russia and China are not libertarian and they're more structured, they'll dominate us with their authoritarianism and their giant industry and massive number of people and technology. Because those people will march in lockstep and be organized and will be free to move.
Yeah, as long as those countries have free markets, right? Like, China's a disaster.
No, but they don't
USSR
have to have free markets necessarily to overpower us and take control.
Well, they kind of do, though. Like, China's in way worse shape than we're in, and that's saying something, because the U.S. we are absolutely screwed.
Oh, I know.
Financially.
But
and they're in even worse shape than we are.
But I'm saying that if they, because what people don't understand about the modern Chinese Communist Party is that it is the only reason it's as successful as it is because it is a kind of hybrid between capitalism and communism. It's a weird system they have there where they control everything, but they kind of let you do stuff. It's weird, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, but the only reason that's possible is because they have zero research and development. Everything they do is stolen technology
from us.
Right. So it's possible for them to do it and make money because they never had to make the investments. They never had to invent the things.
Right.
So, like, from that aspect, the government, because they are communist, the government never had to invest the money into the research and development, into making all these things possible. They just steal intellectual property and then mass produce it.
Yeah.
But their model is not sustain. Their model is less sustainable than our crony capitalistic model.
I would just say, like, in the way that I don't believe in open borders and libertarians free to move, because that's just to me, those libertarians are they're just anarchist globalists.
Well, they're anarcho-capitalists. Yeah, like.
Yeah, but you can be anarcho-capitalist and want the borders closed, and then want anarcho-capitalism inside America.
But you can't, though. You can't be anarchist, and that's the whole point.
No,
Anarchists
I know, like,
don't believe in governments. They don't believe in borders.
I know, in purity, in its purity. But what I'm saying is, they can have the basic tenets of, like, the anarchist, full libertarian system within the country, with a closed border type of a system. It just wouldn't technically be that, because there would be some sort of governing force securing the border, so to speak. But I think that's the only way for libertarians to even get the taste of what they want without, like, pure chaos in the world. Unless there's some sort of dystopian future, then libertarians will never see that. It'll never happen. And the closest they're going to get to it is if we secure our piece of the rock and then protect those liberties within our own borders. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, but you can, but you'll never get anarchism. It'll never happen.
Right. But I'm just saying, so when I think of the tariff thing, and you're saying like, oh, it's kind of I get what you're saying, because it's like them implementing a control, it's forcing businesses to do certain things and stuff like that. But I think of it on similar vein to like the open borders thing. It's like, well, if you can't protect the jobs for the country, like they're not saying they're not telling John Deere, you can't go make a plant in Mexico or in China. They're saying you can't go make a plant in Mexico and China and then ship those things back over here so you can pocket the money and take jobs away from Americans. They're saying you can go over there and sell them over there if you want.
Yeah, but the problem is like it's the level of tariffs that Trump talks about, right? Like having a tariff is something that's, I mean, before there was a federal income tax, right? How did the federal government in America fund itself? By putting tariffs on things. That's fine. But they were very low tariffs. You're talking, 3 to 5%.
Yeah.
Trump's like, yeah, we're going to put a 50% tariff. We're going to put a 100% tariff. And even if he's, like he always does, even if he's talking hyperbolically,
right?
If you put a 25, 50%, say you knock that 50 to 100% tariff down to 25 or 50%.
Yeah.
That is so morally corrupt. I don't care. Like, he's not going to get my vote for that, right? It's like back when back in 2016, it was like, early 2017, he did the bailout for Caterpillar.
Yeah,
I called him out for it.
I don't like bailouts myself.
Yeah, it's like, it wasn't okay when Obama did it, and it's not okay when you did it. Just because you're in charge now doesn't make it morally okay. It's still immoral. You stole from the American public to
save
keep a failing business.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. You're stealing from if you put a tariff of 50% on something,
mm-hmm.
You're stealing from the American public because you're either making them buy an inferior product or you're making them pay more for the product they actually want.
Yeah.
Just so that you can punish that company because they don't want to be here. That's so immoral. And there's no, like, you can't, that's what I'm talking. It's the level of tariff. Tariffs in and of themselves. If our government went back to tariffing, if they went back to tariffs instead of the income tax, that'd be great. I'd be cool with that. Every domestic product gets a 3 to 5% up. Yeah.
But not
every domestic, every foreign product gets a 3 to 5% markup.
Yeah.
Boom. That's fine. But you can't do 40, 50, 100%. Like, there are certain things where he's literally, and again, he talks in hyperbole a lot.
Right. Yeah.
He's literally said, I'll put a 100% tariff on your stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't do that, dude. And if you're going to do that, you are the worst human being who's like, you're like one of the worst people ever.
Well, what's another thing they can do to make people keep stuff in the country?
It's a laugher curve, dude. Lower corporate tax rates.
I agree.
You don't need to put tariffs on stuff to strong arm companies to stay in America. Make production in America worth it to the company.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like, well, maybe like you said, like smaller tariffs to deter them from manufacturing overseas, and then tax breaks. So I think what makes sense to me is like smaller tariffs as a little bit of a deterrent, and then lower corporate tax rates as an incentive. So you have a little bit of a deterrent outside the border, and you have a little bit of an incentive inside the border. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not taking money from anyone, really.
I mean, you're still taking 5% from your populace on all the foreign goods that they buy.
But I mean, I'm saying like maybe more targeted. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, everything coming from outside the country gets the same tariff. I'm saying maybe you grandfather in stuff And then when somebody wants to build a new factory, you go, you want to start building outside the country, tariff. And I kind of equate this to that, like, open border thing. Like, you know, if people just freely to move about, then you don't really have control over your country. And if people are free to just ship all the work to some other country, then you don't really control the country. Like, and I guess I wouldn't have a problem with somebody having a factory outside the country, if they were like, yeah, we want to sell tractors to the Chinese people too. But they're not. They're building all these things and then just putting them on boats and bringing them back here to sell to us. And it's like,
right. If you put a factory in Europe to sell tractors to Europeans,
I'm fine with that. John Deere can be an international company. I'm fine with it. And I don't care if European spec tractors are different than American spec tractors, and somebody in America is like, you know, the European spec ones are nice. I want to import one. They put a tax on the import.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's 100% fine to me.
Do that. But I don't, but my point is, like, that's the problem. Like, I don't care if John Deere wants to go international and sell tractors to other countries or build tractors in other countries. I'm okay with that. But I don't think they should be like, shit, we're just going to build the tractors over there because it's dirt cheap, and then we'll bring them back here. Like, it's just kind of a dirty move, and I understand, like, you want people to be free to do stuff, but I think you could put a little bit of a deterrent there and a little bit of an incentive.
That's all you need. You don't even need the deterrent necessarily if you give the right incentives.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Again, it's the Laffer curve. It works with corporations and it works with individuals.
There's a balance.
Like, if you tax them too little, the government doesn't bring in enough money. And that again, this is me playing the devil's advocate, thinking that taxation is anything but theft.
Right.
Right? You tax people too little, government can't bring in enough money to sustain itself. You tax them too much, you remove incentive to work and to create. Therefore, the government doesn't bring in enough money.
So what we need is corporate tax cut, which is a hard sell to the left, but I still think it's correct. And deregulation. Deregulation and corporate tax cuts keep manufacturing in the country.
Well, not only that, but we need federal consistency, right? What is it? Citizens United, right? Citizens United was a court case that said that corporations are individuals, so they can donate to political campaigns, yada, 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 right? Okay, well, if that's the case, then just go flat. If we're going to argue the fact that taxes should exist, just do a flat 12 to 15% tax. Corporations, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't need to bring in as much money as we're bringing into the federal government's bringing in to begin with. We need to stop spending money. That's what we need to do. You don't need to keep bringing in $5 trillion in taxes every year if you're only spending $2 trillion.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always said this too. Like, first of all, but here's the thing that sucks is, like, I'm coming to the realization that, like, it's never going to happen. Like, all the stuff we're talking about, we know works well, right? The thing is, we almost never get all of these things in unison, and it's kind of what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need the tax rates to go down. You need the regulations to disappear. And you need the free market to be allowed to compete. And you need the big businesses that fail to fail, because then the vacuum created allows someone to come in and start a new one.
Yep.
And one of the up-and-comers can then take it. It's almost like working for a big company. Like, you come in, you're the lowest man on the totem pole. You have lowest seniority. You get the worst shift. You get the worst job. And then somebody retires and everybody moves up a notch. Now, I'm not saying it should be automatic, but, like, you get seniority. Like, the person who's been there the longest has first choice of, like, what shift do you want? Or you get first access to, like, apply. Granted, you're capable of doing the job for the promotion. And you do that in business. Like, Caterpillar fails and you don't bail them out and they go away. And you're like, well, all those jobs are gone. I'm like, yeah. But then some other equipment manufacturer can come in
Yeah,
and
freaking
fill the
Husqvarna.
gap, right? Fill the gap. And then the small company that started up slides into the slot of the company that just left. That was a mid-sized company below Caterpillar. And now they're the big company. And then the upstart company is now the mid-sized company.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, again, it goes back to Citizens United. If corporations are individuals, treat them like they're individuals. Let them move up and let them move up and down in the economy based on merit.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Let's see here. Trying to find the clip I was seeing. There was one hilarious one. Anyways, I couldn't find that one. Which one's this? Oh, I lost it. Dag nabbit. Anyway, here's at the end, he gets a standing O at the Economic Club of Chicago.
There we go.
I would say that the Economic Club of Chicago is not your typical redneck Trump voter.
No, I would guess you're not. I mean, especially considering, I mean, even when Trump was getting off all those zingers, right? Like, there was probably, it looks like there's probably, I'm not a great judge of crowds, but by the size of that room, there's probably 200-300 people there.
Mm-hmm. Probably to pay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I would guess that probably from the, people laughing and the people clapping and cheering and everything when he had his little zingers, probably about 20 to 30% of them were openly Trump supporters.
Right.
And you get a standing ovation at the end. Obviously some people are going to stand up because it's the polite thing to do, but
the crowd, yeah, follow the crowd.
He obviously won the quote unquote debate.
With that guy, that clown interviewer.
Yeah.
There was I know there was some other funny ones, but I don't know how to find them. I can't find them. Well, that's basically all we have for clip content, except for the at the end, the hero of the week at the end. But what else was there we missed? Is there anything we missed that you wanted to hit on?
Oh, not really. Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Just getting ready to vote. It's coming up. Oh, we got to do the election stream.
Yeah.
It's on a Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Tuesday. I don't know what your plan is, but my plan is to basically get on like as soon as I can after dinner.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can be on by like 8:30 at the latest.
Okay. I might be on before that. You
Okay.
can just jump in when you're there.
Yep.
I just want to get on early and start covering it, checking it, looking around.
Yeah, I'm gonna aim to be on around 8. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to be on by 8, but
You never know.
I should definitely be on by 8:30 at the latest.
Yeah, I mean, something could come up for me too. I'm just gonna plan on it. I'm gonna let my wife know ahead of time. She knows.
Yep.
Try to get on early for that. That's gonna be interesting. I don't know exactly how we're gonna do it, but I'm gonna probably pull up, probably like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Crowder's show, and kind of hopscotch around a bit. Something like that. I'm gonna try and think of like some ideas to do like directly for like ourselves. Some interaction or something fun to do if anybody happens to be hanging out with us. Be cool to get something of our own going.
Yeah, maybe we got anybody who's watching from a specific state. As information's coming in, we can get them. Take a chance. Let some randos jump on and talk to them for a few minutes.
Maybe we could do call-ins or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
have them report what they saw on the ground.
I was hoping that eventually on this show to do like the set like podcast, and then at the end cut all the streams except for like one of them, except for like Rumble, and then do like an after show and possibly have like take like questions from people, or like either like a call-in type thing, or like pre-recorded questions, or submitted questions in Discord or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the news. I don't know any new news. Hurricanes are still a problem.
Yeah, I don't really think there's too much more to talk about.
No. Of course, what's going to happen is tomorrow there will be a bunch of stuff. Tomorrow and Friday, and then we'll be like, show's not for a week.
Yep. That's how it always happens.
Yep.
But, all right, you want to get into Hero of the Week?
Yeah, I think we should.
All right. So this week's Hero of the Week is, it's kind of two dudes, honestly. It just... So this clip is going to be, it's a guy going around trying to collect votes. He's knocking on doors, whatnot. And the guy who answers the door is awesome. And also the guy who's going around trying to get people out to vote is awesome. It just shows you that there can be civility even when you obviously disagree.
Check this out. This is from Clown World on X. Let's back it up.
Hello. What up, dog? My name is Alberto. We came from Culinary Union Workers. I knock at the doors and try to endorse votes for Kamala Harris.
Fuck Kamala Harris.
Okay, thank you.
Just short and sweet.
Try to get the votes for.
My name is Alberto. We came from Culinary Union Workers. I knock at the doors and try to endorse votes for Kamala Harris.
Fuck Kamala Harris.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See, they were both very nice to each other.
I'm sure he's gotten a bunch of those, dude.
Yeah, but that makes it even more impressive, though, right? If he's gotten a bunch of that, like for him to still just be like, "All right, cool, man, have a good day."
Yeah.
Like, I get it, not your cup of tea. I just thought that was funny, his reaction. F Kamala Harris, and he's like, "All right, cool."
Fuck Kamala Harris. It almost looks staged.
It almost does.
That's funny, though. Okay, thank you. I was hoping it was going to be like even more than that.
Like, I did too, and then the short and sweetness of it I liked.
That is cool too, but I was hoping the guy's going to be like, I'm sorry, there's no way in hell I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Sorry, man. I don't want to waste your time, man. I'm just going to be straightforward. And then the other guy goes, hey, man, it's all right. You know, we have different opinions. That's cool. I was hoping it would be like more like that, man. And then they like shake hands and be like, well, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Yeah, you too, man. Good luck out there. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Or
You want
like,
a sandwich for, you want a
he's like,
sandwich
"Hey,
for the
oh,
road?
we're making burgers. You want one? Like, something like that would have been funny.
All right. All right, yeah, so I'll do the verse of the week.
Verse.
So, yeah. This is kind of a two-pronger. I got the verse, and then I just wanted to talk about something really quickly after about it. So this one comes from Deuteronomy chapter 6. It's verses 6 through 9. It says, these commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk to them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, and when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them to your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates. Right? So this verse right here
that's where I've seen that. Okay.
Yeah, so this verse right here is obviously, or these verses are stressing the importance of knowing God's word and making them a daily part of your life, right? And there's some like really Orthodox Jews or whatever, I don't know what sect exactly they are. They took this thing way too literally, right? Have you ever seen the Jewish dudes that have the little boxes on a band on their forehead?
No.
Yeah, they take this way too literally. It's like a sect of Jews that do it. They have it's literally just like a little cube that's on a headband, and they put verses in that cube and they wear it on their freaking forehead.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's a little too literal, right?
They could have just wrote it on their funny hat.
Yeah. So where I think that this is important is I'm going to tie this part in. So as a man in your household, having a good faith and fear in God is very important for this statistic, okay? So according to several studies, when a father accepts Christ first, around 93% of the time, the entire family will follow. However, if a mother accepts Christ first, only around 17% of families will follow. So that right there shows you the importance of the hierarchy that God set in the Bible, right? It goes God, man, woman, children. God is above all, man is above wife, wife is above children. That right there is actual hard evidence why that hierarchy that God established is so important. If you have a good faith and if you lead your family properly, then 93% of the time, your family would also come to Christ.
That makes sense. I can even like anecdotally kind of see that from my life growing up, like just in general. Like, I'm sure you've known of like families that they could fully go to church, right? Like, mother and father go to church every Sunday. The mother wants to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her own Bible. She's got her own rosary. Maybe she's got, but like, and the husband just goes because his wife wants.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to hear his wife complain.
And he's not necessarily like against it.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't like going to church or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that, and like the father, maybe the father's more of a stoic type of guy. He doesn't try to convince anyone. He has his own beliefs, or you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
And I feel like in those houses, the kids go along, they get older, and then they probably fade away from it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I kind of see that, and like, then you have families where like the father is really involved in it, and it usually permeates the family.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how important the role that the Bible says that the man is the head of the household. He is to be the spiritual leader. You are the rabbi. You are the pastor in your home.
Mhm.
Like, if the father is spiritually sound and follows Christ, then his family, for lack of a better term, they don't really have a choice but to be, right?
Mhm.
Because everybody inherently knows that the man is the leader. If you take on that role in your home, there's a lot of
Right.
dudes who let their wives run their home. But if you actually are the spiritual head of your home, if you run your home like the Bible says you are supposed to, then your family will follow you.
And I think there's a tipping point too where like some fathers become a tyrant in their home.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is the opposite effect, right? The
Yeah.
children rebel and balk, and it could be like a devout Christian father who runs his household like a tyrant,
Yeah.
and the children will balk as they get older and they earn more freedom. They just balk and they rebel against everything because they feel, well, obviously this stuff isn't good because look how our father is.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you actually
Oh, yeah.
have to practice what you preach. You can be authoritative and stern and disciplinary and all those things without being a warlord. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, like, I see that in my own personal life, right? Like, my father-in-law is a retired pastor.
Okay.
He had four daughters. My wife's oldest sister, because he was pretty heavy-handed. Like, growing up, being in high school, when I met my wife, like, I went to his church with her, and like there were times where he would give a sermon, and I'm like, dang man, this guy is like, he's going hard in the paint.
Yeah.
Like he would like straight up, like, certain times, like, he would preach about how it's a wife's duty to listen to her husband, this, that, the other thing. And it's like, my wife didn't notice it because she was too close to the trees to see the forest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, like something ain't right around here. And it was just because of the way that he was, right? Now he's changed. Like, he's not like that anymore. But like his oldest daughter, my wife's older sister, she's completely turned from the faith. Like, he completely turned her off to the faith. And then the third daughter, my wife's second oldest, so the sister that's a little bit younger than her, she still is Christian, but she has nothing to do with her father. And it's like, that's case in point, dude. Like, if you try to take it too far, like, I think he didn't realize that he was being too heavy-handed, right? Like you were talking about.
He was trying to pass out the judgment as if he was God, not just
Exactly.
handing out the word.
He wasn't correcting with God's word. He was effectively making himself God.
So like, yeah, like, this is what it says. This is what God says. So you will do it or else be judged by me, which is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to do what you can, discipline, teach, shepherd, if you will, teach the lessons, let them fail, let them sin, learn of their sin, repent, etc. Your job is not to prevent them from sinning by force or by fear, because then they do not know of their own sin. Like, they're not practicing being a human.
Right.
You're just going to make them go, Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's playing again.
How did that play at auto in the background? That's funny.
I have no idea.
I thought somebody was at your house.
Dude, I thought it was someone at your house too. I was like, that's weird. And then I heard the voice and I was like, oh, it's that guy. So yeah, I mean, obviously, again, me being a Christian, I am taking it from the biblical, Christian head of the household perspective. But even if you're not a Christian, like, take your role as a man very seriously in your household, right? Because, this statistic is, it is what it is as far as Christianity is concerned. But that will probably pretty much apply to anything, right?
Well, it already
Like,
applies to crime rates and imprisonment and
exactly.
successful outcomes. And
Like, say you don't believe in God. Say you're an atheist and you think Christianity is a joke, whatever the case may be. This statistic is gonna be pretty consistent across the board.
it
Like,
already is in
if
America.
if you are the head of your home, if you are the spiritual head of your home, whatever you say, your family will follow.
Even just the logical, like, even if like there was an atheist father, but was like someone who ran on rationality only, like they know the goods and the bads, this is if you do this, there's this outcome. If you do this, is this outcome. So like you teach your kids, even if it was just strictly on logic, running your household and teaching your kids on logic of your experiences,
Mm-hmm.
that still proves true because of this. The rates on fatherlessness in the country have proven it.
Yep.
Like, it's somebody's in charge. The mom's usually more emotionally in tuned and caring and loving. They can hand out discipline too, but it's like when the father's there, they're the ones teaching you the practical application of everything. And then when things get out of line, they're the iron fist of like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing that. And then usually what happens is the father is like the bad guy. A lot of times.
Yep.
When the kids go too far, it takes a stronger approach. And, this is the end of the line. Stops with me.
Yep.
Like, your mom was trying and you're not listening. Well, now you're dealing with me, and I'm the bad guy whenever it comes down to it. And that makes your kids go see their mom a lot when they're younger, but as they get older, it changes because they stop doing the things that you've taught them not to do. And you can still be the iron fist, but then also be understanding and promote goodness. And when you see them do something, you still give them praise and props, and they still, as they get older, they still come to you. You know what I mean? As long as you're not flying off the handle all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and being like crazy, you will build yourself a level of respect and love that only grows with time.
Yeah. I think it's super important too. For the last year and a half, maybe upwards of 2 years. One thing that I found super good, and it's really built my relationship with my daughter and my older son, is I do it with all three of them, but obviously Hunter, he's only 5, so that is what that is.
Takes time.
Like, if I do something wrong, I make a habit of explaining myself and apologizing to my children.
Yes, same.
Like, if they do something and I fly off the lid for some reason, like I had a bad day at work or whatever the case is, and I snap on them, I always go back to them.
Or you've
I
told them 100
apologize.
times, dude.
Yeah, I'll go back to them and I apologize and I tell them I shouldn't have lost my temper. Like, that's not how I am. That's not how I want to be. That's not the right way to do things. And dude, I've seen such a change in my kids, just how they interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if kids, obviously they disagree all the time, siblings, right? Like, one kid's gonna take a toy that the other kid wanted, right? And instead of them screaming or fighting over the toy, now I'll hear them. They'll raise their voice at each other, and then they'll stop and they'll be like, I really wish you'd give me that toy back because this, that, the other thing. And it's like, that's good.
Mhm.
Like, that's a tangible thing. That is a very easy thing to do, right? And it teaches your kids humility. I think that's the most important part.
Yep.
In my opinion, it teaches your kids humility. It teaches them to be able to admit when they're wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I've seen it too. I've done it. Just
Yeah,
sitting
I used to
there,
be. Yeah, because I used to be the parent that was like, because I told you so. Right? Because that's the way that I was raised. Like, my dad didn't do that, but like my parents were divorced, so I spent most of my time with my mother. And it was like whenever something happened, and I asked her like, "Well, why?" Because I said so. And that's like the same thing as a kid when you ask them, "Why'd you do that?" And they say, "Because."
right.
It's not an answer.
Yeah, you're right. But there's still a time where like you're telling them to do something. It's like, go do this, right? And they don't know. They're just like, what? Why do I have to do that right now? And it's like, I'm in charge, right? Like, it usually comes up when it's like not a specific like task you're asking someone to do, but it's like, stop doing this, right? And they don't think it's bad. They're like, why? Why do I have to stop? Why can't I do this? Like, because I asked you not to. Like, there could be
Yeah,
like
I mean,
running
sometimes it is that simple.
they're running around the house screaming, right? And I'm like, and you're like, hey, you're inside. You're like, turn it down a bit. There's other people in the house, you know? And then they continue to run around the house screaming or whatever. Then you go over, you're like, hey, stop screaming. This isn't, it's not a very big house. Cut it out. And then they keep doing it, right? Then you're like, hey. Like, you gotta shock them till they stop running and they go, I told you to stop screaming.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable.
We were just doing this and we were just doing that. And we just wanted to do that. And then we could, and then he took my thing and then this and that. It's like, oh my God. Why do we have to
totally
why can't we play this game? Because I said so.
Yeah, and like I said, that sort of thing is totally reasonable. Like, if you've told your kids 3 times, "Hey guys, try to keep it down," where mom and I are trying to have a discussion, and they keep coming out, and like it happened tonight. My boys, they're super into making paper airplanes right now. I don't know why. It's just something that they're magically really into right now. They're folding up papers in all sorts of random ways to make paper airplanes. And my wife and I were trying to talk about, I can't even remember what it was. It was not even something super important, but like we couldn't hear each other because they were running and they were fighting over paper airplanes and they were screaming about who's went further and this, that, the other. And I told them 2-3 times, like, hey, boys, take it downstairs, go to your room, go somewhere else. We're trying to talk. And then finally they come out and they freaking sling their, and they pegged my wife in the back of the head. And I instantly I was like, right. I just snapped on them, and they were both like, "Bing," and just froze. And I was like, I will not tell you again. If I have to, I'm going to burn every one of your paper airplanes. And then they just went away.
Yeah.
And they didn't come back, right? It's like, yeah, obviously there's sometimes you got to do that. But if you've genuinely made a mistake, I think it's very important.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you can yell at your kids. You can get angry at your kids. I don't think that's the thing. It's when you get angry to a point where you realized you lost control for a moment. When you feel like you've lost control, just admit it.
Yep.
And if you feel like you were justified and in control, then I don't think you need to apologize for it. But you can get their attention by yelling and then go, listen, I don't mean to yell, but you guys are not listening, and I couldn't get your attention any other way.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a different thing. But
like I tell my wife all the time, there is such a thing as righteous anger, right? I mean, Jesus flipped the tables, and he started whipping people when they were in the temple. All the tax collectors and people turned the entryway of the temple into tax where people collected taxes and they turned into a market. And Jesus came in there, he started flipping tables and started whipping people.
It's not a market.
Yep. There is such thing as righteous anger. That's for sure.
Yeah. Would agree.
All right, Bubba.
That's a good verse. I like that. I like that. That sparked
Yeah.
a discussion too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a big takeaway. It's not so much the verse. Obviously, that's the important part, but like remove religion from it, and just as men, we need to make sure that we understand the gravity of the position that we've been put in.
Agreed. Yeah, it just means being thoughtful, right? Being thoughtful about the parameters you want, or what's right and wrong, how you want, how you think your kids should live, and it's up to you to like put that forth, right?
Yep.
You set the boundaries of your house, right?
Yeah.
I dig it. More dads. Have more kids. Be
Yeah,
more
dude.
dads.
Stop letting. This is going to sound racist, and it's not racist in any way, shape, or form, but it's going to sound that way. Stop letting weirdos, libs, and immigrants have more kids than us.
Oh, yeah.
You better be at least replacing yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you better be having at least 2 kids.
Dose kids. I agree. Only childs always end up weird anyway.
Yeah, they really do.
Not all of them, but often.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm gonna jump the gun on you on this one. Yeah. Follow me on socials. What is it called? What's that streaming thing called? I can't think of it.
Twitch? X?
Yeah. On X, on Twitch, whatever. I'm Jamoke Enoch, JAMOKEENOCH. No spaces. Sometimes I get on there. We get on a few times a week and play games, Whiskey and I. I don't really stream as much as he does. I kind of just do it if I feel like it. But yeah, give us a follow.
Absolutely. You can find me on all the platforms at Whiskey Sticks TV. Sticks is spelled STIXX because the regular one was taken. And I'm cool. That's cool guy stuff, in case you didn't know. Yeah, find me on X, Rumble, YouTube, all that cool stuff. I think there's like a Linktree link with all my links on it somewhere. Link to the podcast. Follow the podcast. If you listen to this on audio, give us a follow on Rumble. At Northeast Base Pod or Northeast Base Podcast, you'll find it. And check it out. Come check out the show live. Throw some chats at us. Let us know you're out there. And yeah, if you want to check it out live, it's Wednesday nights around 9:30 Eastern time. We try to shoot for. Sometimes we're late because we're dads and we got to put kids to bed and all that cool stuff. And then set up the show, but around that time, come check us out if you want to stop in live. Even if you just pop in and throw a like up or something like that, I'd really appreciate it. Help us get into the algorithm or whatever on Rumble. Maybe get some more people in here. But that's going to do it for episode 23 of the Space Podcast. Stay tuned for the election stream Tuesday, November 5th. I'm going to try to get on right after dinner time, so probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern. Try to hop on live, start checking out the election coverage. We'll be jumping between different channels and stuff, and probably be fielding chats. We'll be trying to talk to people on chat quite a bit if you're around, so check it out. Maybe we'll have some guests pop in. Enoch will be joining. I might be on a little bit before Enoch, but we'll be on that night together.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll try to stay on until the election is done. I don't know if that's possible. Who knows what's going to happen with this election. But I don't know. I'm in it for the Hall special event, so, I'll do that. That's it, folks. Keep in touch with yourselves. Amen.